Hello everybody, it's Bruce of Nature Calls. I'm over here by the Snoqualmie, Middle Fork Snoqualmie River, doing a setup, kind of rinse down of the Hilleberg Helags 2 that I got to use last weekend. Went pheasant hunting and got to enjoy this tent. This is one of Hilleberg's newer tents in their snow-free line or their lightweight line. It's a 2-person tunnel tent, weighs, 5.5 pounds. But it's heavier duty than your normal tent. I've got plenty of lightweight tents, but if I was going to be in severe winds, any kind of inclement weather, this kind of tent is going to do 1,000 times better. It's got stronger fabric. It's not necessarily heavier fabric. It's got the Curl-On 1000. You can go to Hilleberg. They'll even send you samples of their Curl-On fabric. You cannot tear it with your hands. It has heavier duty fabric in where the poles go. All the sewing is top notch. It uses thicker guy outlines than you normally find. They're just super strong. These things are made, well, not this particular tent, but they make tents that go to the Arctic, go up on Everest. These are mountaineering style tents, but with this snow-free line, this is more kind of catering towards, say like the normal backpacker. It's got vertical walls at the head and the feet, and then it's got these vestibules. So you've got some serious roominess. And so if you divide this up between 2 people, it's a couple pounds per person. It comes with, I think it's 16 lightweight pegs. So you got 16 pegs. You've got the heavier duty guy lines, and they're double. You can see they're double. So all those things go into adding that little extra weight. I mean, I know some people that will, can even cut down on all that if they really had to, but if you're really looking for a tent, you're going to have full confidence in being out in good weather, or not good weather, good, like gnarly weather. These are the tents to go with. I had 2 hunting dogs in here. If you've ever had dogs in your tent, they put out a ton of perspiration with their breath. Way more than human, I'm convinced. I had 2 in here. The condensation was nothing. With these catenary cuts, you can see that they did, which lightens the tent, of course, but that also, they've got all the way around, so you get great airflow through the tent. You can also unzip the door if you want some more ventilation. There's just so many things you can do with this tent. I was a big Chitum fan, which is probably the next level up, but it's very similar in design. But this one's really awesome. So let's just go take a little setup of it and a quick tour of the inside and show you all the cool features. Now, the real beauty of Hilleberg tents, if you've never heard of Hilleberg tents, they're probably the best tent out there as far as harsh weather. Hello. A little puppy dog. One of their big features, other than making great tunnel tents, which are by far, as far as heavy duty weather, these are the ways to go. But the inner goes up with the outer. So if it's pouring rain, you can put up a tent and have a dry inside. You can take out the inner. You can use the inner by itself for a tent. If you know it's going to be super nice weather, it still has waterproofing on it. It's not waterproof like this Curl-On siliconized outer, but Hilleberg they test everything. They've got a wind machine. They test by letting, these tents are in the worst weather out there. So all their plastics that they use, their guy lines, their fabrics, their sewing techniques, everything is just top notch. And their guarantee is fantastic. They have great customer service. These tents, they're really not that much more expensive. I've got a lot of tents, and the higher level tents are all in this kind of same range. But this one is, I was going to pick one tent that would do everything. It would be the Hilleberg tent. I've got lots of tents that are lightweight, ultralight tents. I've got tarps, I got hammocks, I've got them all. But if I needed something that I totally rely on, it'd be a Hilleberg tent. So let's go take a look. Let's get some measurements here. That was squished properly. looking at 21 inches. Then if you squish this down properly, that's 7 inches. So if you're one of those people that, like these poles are 17 inches. So if you're one of those people that just stuff the tent without the poles, you put your poles like on the side of your pack, those are 17 inches, and then whatever you can pack that other part of the tent down into is great. All right, so there's a Hilleberg logo, so I'm going to take that as being the bow. We'll start by staking off the wind end. Kind of depends on how you like to do it. Here in the buggy northwest, you actually put your door upwind, and then the bugs stay at the south end of the unwind side or the lee side for protection. Now, if it's super windy, you definitely want to get something staked out or tied to your a backpack or something to lay it down, because these are, even though they're 5.5 pounds, they're very light and heavy wind, which these tents are definitely designed for. And you're going to be going all over the place. Now, the Hilleberg comes with 3 poles, two shorter ones and 1 longer one. It's their 9mm DAC poles, DAC poles. I'm going to take lots of extra care, make sure they're all seated properly. I do this at this stage with just the tent down and not all staked out. This is good for doing the wind. I've been learning a lot about setting up in the wind. Now this is the middle pole because it has red tape on it, and I'll show you there's a red band or red webbing band on the middle pole. And make sure that all your poles are completely seated, pretty much, other than a manufactured defect. 90%, in my opinion, of tent failure is with the poles. And it's mainly because the poles have some kind of defect in them, or they weren't seated properly, they got a crack, and they snap, and then they go through your tent. So make sure they're all seated really well. Now that I got all those, I'm going to start with my front, the wind end of the tent. Find the side that goes in. Boy, this is dirty. There's a little pocket right there. I'm going to push the pole about halfway through. Then we're going to just pull the rest of it on through until we make sure it's in this little kind of heavy-duty vinyl cup. You got to make sure it's all the way in that cup. And we just hold on this end, push that through. Out the middle pole, we have some red tape. There's a red band right there. Shove it about halfway through. Pull it the rest of the way. Make sure it gets seated in that cup right there. And up she goes. There's a little cup. Put that on there. And you pull that down until it's fleshed up. And that's how you want it. Now that I've got the front pegged off, got the 2 rear peg off loops on my poles in, just gonna come back, lift it up, bring it down, peg it out, 45-degree angle. Want that peg down pretty far. I'm doing just a setup today, but you want it all the way down, 45-degree angle. They've got little tensioners to make it really good. Now at this stage, the tent is actually good to go, but we're going to keep going because it's just a really good practice to make sure everything's guyed out and down, especially like we've been having high winds today, and it helps with good ventilation, good stable system. Now these are the ultralight pegs that they put in here. They're 6 inches long, super light. They're playing that we need to lighten up everything. Personally, I would go with their larger stakes. It's too bad they have to play in that game of trying to be the lightest tent. These might be okay for a couple things, but I would definitely upgrade to the bigger stakes. So now that we've got front and the back staked out. We want to trim it up so everything looks good and taut. So I just had this over in Eastern Washington. The dust and the sand over there is basically like flour. So it's not that it's like super dirty, but it just gets dust on everything. But so the beauty of this Curl-On siliconized, triple siliconized Curl-On fabric is super easy to clean. And if you do just minimal maintenance on these tents, they're gonna just look beautiful. I mean, they're gonna last a long time anyway, but it's a nice little rub down. Look at that, wow. We'll get this nice and clean looking. The guy lines are also amazing, and they're line locks. Now, when you're chasing the weight scale, you wouldn't have the intensity of this type of system. You just have a simple tie out, nothing that's sewed in with webbing like this, all sewn in with this thickness and strength of this special line they have. And this line is very workable with gloves when it's frozen. But they have 2 guy lines at each spot. Let's go ahead and get those staked out. You have your line runners, real easy to use with your gloves. You can just flip them, and you go, out you go. Sweet. When you do your guy lines, you don't want to pull them so tight that they're flattening the poles. Just want them nice and taut. Looks good. Now here you can see the catenary cuts that they have for their ventilation. You'll also see that on this as compared to the chitum, where your chitum has vents, or the Charon has vents. You know, they have those vents on the upper part up here. They've gotten away with that, definitely for weight reduction, but they've added all this catenary cut where you get all the way around the tent, so you're getting tons of ventilation going through there. Now, it's also good practice, but I don't do it most of the time. But if you're in a heavy wind, or you know big wind's coming up, you can also stake out each one of the poles. Then you're gonna have a super solid tent. All right, so here we have the tent all set up. And just do a quick kind of look around at it. This is a nice sand color. It does come in green, it does come in red, it does come in the 3-person. This is a 2-person. I'm gonna move this guy line a little out of the way. But you kind of get used to moving your guy lines. Now here you have this nice rain cover for the main door, and it can be zipped down from the top if you do want to get some of that top ventilation going on. There's nothing wrong with that. Open it up from the bottom down here. Big zipper pulls. Again, easy to work with your gloves. They do have little toggles on the bottom. So if you want to lock down your zippers, if it's really windy and they're making noise, never had that problem. Now we'll just get this out of the way. You do not want this, and there's lots of dust. You do not want that dragging on the ground. It really hurts your zipper. It's one of their biggest repair items, is just bad zipper use. Dusty tent. So there's your basic standard. Definitely had all my backpacking gear right in there. It was no problem. Nothing in the tent. So the tent was all for sleeping. Let's go to the next stage. Let's pull that off of there. Like if you wanted a little more ventilation, a little more viewing. So there's the next stage. I'm going to move this guy line out front now. This is how I did most of my initial loading up the tent, getting my gear inside because we were in nice weather. So we just open this up completely into this formation. Now you're going to get, maximum or almost maximum ventilation. I'll open up the other end. But here you've got, great view. If it's not going to rain, this is a great way to go for sure. It got down really cold where we were, so I went ahead and put that all down. So I kept that wind from really getting us cold. Not that my sleeping gear was fine, but I had the dogs in there. They didn't have any way to kind of cover up and cuddling up on themselves. So I did close it down, and it definitely kept it warm. So now I've got both ends opened up. Here you can see the mesh that they use. This is definitely, nothing's getting through that. It's a ripstop mesh. It's really cool. I wish I could get some for my own gear making stuff. It's super light. I can get something close to it, but nothing like this. You can get an all mesh inner if you want. It doesn't change the weight. Same weight basically as this inner, but this inner can actually be used as a tent by itself and still have some water repellent features on it. I'll go ahead and open up this nice big door. So here you can see the beauty of the Hilleberg tent. It has this inner that's suspended from the outer. I mean, it's a good 2 to 3 inches, kind of on average, whatever these little straps are, that's 3 to 4 inches. So when you put it up, you're putting it up all at one time, the inner and the outer. And this outer is waterproof. It's triple siliconized Curlon 1000, which is their lightweight, snow-free level fabric. It's still strong as ever. You can get little samples. You can't tear them. You just can't tear it. A human can't tear it. You can get pole kits, so you don't even have to take this outer tent. Go ahead and wrap this on back. All their zippers are top quality. All their toggles are top quality. Everything about what they have is top quality. But with the big vestibules, you won't really have anything in here for gear necessarily. So 7 feet or 49, almost 50 inches. So you could get 2 25-inch wide mats in here. But it's definitely plenty long. A lot of people ask whether it's super long or long enough for tall people. 7 feet is definitely, measure that again just to verify. Yeah, 7 feet. That's pretty good. So here I am in the middle. I'm a 6 foot tall person. I've got probably a good inch of headroom. Also has a nice little clothesline in here. Has a side pocket. Has 4 side pockets. It's fantastic. So this is where me and 2 dogs were in here breathing. I don't know if anybody's camped with dogs before, but the condensation level in a tent goes way up. Dogs put out way more condensation than humans. So, and this was fine. This was all just beautifully breathable. No condensation on the inside. It was definitely a dewy Washington morning, so there was dew on the outer tent. Little sign that dried in a matter of minutes. Right, so you go. There's the Hilleberg Helags 2. They do a Helags 3. This was easily a great tent. For 2 people, it's very roomy. Right here, you get vertical walls on either end, which is really nice. So you're not having that tent coming down on your sleeping bag, on your head, because you have the vestibules. But the sleeping area, vertical wall at the head, plenty of height in here. You can take this whole inner out. Say like if you had to work on your bike or a canoe, you can easily take this whole inner thing out, bring it in, work on it if it's raining, or you need to protect it from the rain. I know some people, like they do all that kind of work when they're out bike packing or canoe packing. You can do that with these Hillebergs. You can take this whole inner out just to have a meeting in here. Take this inner out if it's really, really raining, the outside's got water on it. You can take this whole inner out, pack that in your backpack in here, and then go out and you can pack the outer tent separate. So later on, just put it up in reverse. I mean, it's so versatile, especially in wet weather like we have here in the Northwest. Fantastic tent. So this is going to be real close between this and the Chitum for being my favorite tunnel tent. This was pretty darn nice. All right, see you out on the trail. Bye now.